The Central Division's poised for a seismic shakeup. Today, it's our predictions on where the Utah Mammoth land in 25-26.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and together we bring you Locked On Mammoth each and every single weekday. Thanks for joining us and making us your first listen when it comes to the Utah Mammoth hockey team. Today, it's prediction time. The Central Division, you know it's poised for a shakeup. There was too much that has happened in the offseason and heading into training camp for things not to shift. The real question is, how far can the Mammoth go? We're going to tackle that today. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Robyn, we're going to do a couple of different categories here. We're going to do some team predictions, some individual player predictions, and of course, we're going to look at the league as a whole, plus some FanDuel odds just for fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it should be a fun thing to take a look at. I think there's a lot of things we can talk about. At this point, the NHL season's already started for a couple of teams, really. I think most teams don't start until like Thursday or Friday. But
and of course, with the Mammoth starting Thursday, that gives us a couple of days of breathing room here.
Oh, yeah, it gives us a couple of days of breathing room, but it gives us the ability to have this kind of prediction talk to say, okay, how are the Mammoth going to do team-wise? How are they going to do player-wise? Just what's the rest of the league going to look like? Because there's been a lot of moving around in the offseason. There might be some changes based off who might be favored to win the Stanley Cup or whatever.
And of course, the biggest story in Mammoth land is going to be Logan Cooley and his contract extension. And that's going to be there for however long until it
gets done.
Right. Until it is done, it is there. So that is something that hopefully the Mammoth are able to put aside. And Robyn, I think you and I are kind of in agreement here that our belief is this will probably get done sooner than later. So when we think about our predictions, this doesn't factor in as a distraction because, quite frankly, if it's not done soon, it will become one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I have talked about, when we were before, the Wild got their Kaprizov signing, and we're wondering how that would affect the Wild, and saying that, hey, that might be a distraction to them. It could help Utah move up as long as Cooley's extension talks doesn't also become a distraction. But now that the Wild got their figured out the way, all eyes are on Utah. And again, it should not be a distraction until it becomes one if they wait too long. And we don't think it will be, right? If it comes holiday break and there's still no contract, okay, we might be approaching distraction territory here.
Absolutely. And that is something that could really throw all of our predictions right into the wastebasket. However, let's go ahead and start. Robyn, I think we should start at the granular level. Let's start with some individual player predictions. Who do you want to go out there? Because I've got a bunch myself, but let's start with yours. What is one or two that you're like, okay, I feel really good about this one?
Ooh, one of the things I've always wanted to discuss, and this is not really, I'm not sure if I can just call it prediction yet. Maybe we can, dance around that being the term, but let's go on the topic of Dylan Guenther.
Okay.
Because we watched him during the preseason, and we watched the way that he took shots. He wasn't afraid to take the shots and grab his own rebounds and try to take shots. Makes me wonder, Tom, could Dylan Guenther be on a route this year for a potential, let's say, 40-goal season?
Okay. I like that. You know what's interesting to me that you bring Guenther back up, Robyn, quite frankly, we haven't spent a lot of time talking about him in the last week or two, which I guess is a good thing because we've been focused on the Cooley contract and, of course, health, right?
And the young guys.
Right. And the younger guys we've been focused on. And
Even though
we haven't
Guenther's still very young, but prospects is the better way
right.
to put it. But
Right. We're focusing on those guys. We're focusing on, Simashev making the roster. We focused on Keller in the season he's going to have, Kraus in the season he's going to have, the addition of Tanev. And somehow I feel like Guenther has not gotten the
love he
discussion.
deserves.
Right. We just haven't had him on the table for discussion because I think there is a sense and a feeling that, well, he's just doing what he needs. He'll take a step forward this year. And I think he did show that in camp. The couple of goals he did score, his hands are there. They are absolutely there. And it's funny that we talked not as much about Peterka as I thought we would, because those two have kind of gone hand in hand here in the preseason.
And I think that's what's going to make them complement so well. So like, and that's why I brought up 40 goals, because you take a look at it as its potential. Like, they're both goal scoring forwards, right? But at the end of the day, they're both going to complement each other. Maybe one will get more goals than the other, but they're still going to push each other to keep going higher and higher and higher up that ladder. Maybe, up the points ladder. But to me, my focus is on that number of goals, because I know based off what I saw during preseason, Dylan Guenther is going to shoot the puck from those high danger areas where there's going to be a higher chance of getting those shots, those goals.
It's a bold prediction, Robin, but I don't think it's unrealistic at all. I think we should make bold predictions, right?
I love bold predictions. Bold predictions are fun.
Just like I'm going to say Clayton Keller, 100 points this year.
I like it.
That is a bold prediction, but I think he's going to get there. And the reason I think he's going to get there is because the scoring is now much more distributed among the top 6 forwards. I think that he's still going to get all his power play minutes and everything there. And of course, again, we talk about people needing to stay healthy.
That Keller Cooley Schmaltz line is just gonna be firing like a well-oiled machine.
And because teams are going to have to be more concerned with defending Guenther, Peterka, and whoever is in the middle there, whether it's Hayton or Agazino or whoever, even to start the season, right? Robin, I think that's going to give them more time and space.
It should. And not only, I mean, you can even go down to what we thought, some of the potential mix-ups you can have on the third line, where you have a little bit of speed and that physicality. And again, it opens up the lane. So like, they don't know, like, all right, who are we going to put put this line with? Who are we going to pair with? All of a sudden, now you open up room for the next group.
Yeah, that's absolutely something I think is going to be big. All right, give me another bold prediction here, Robin.
Another bold prediction. Oh, God. Here we go.
At the player level.
At the player level. Let's see. I got to think around here.
All right, you want me to drop one in while you're thinking?
All right, go for it.
Vitek Vanacek is the starter by Christmas. Vanacek will be the number 1 goaltender by Christmas. That's a bold prediction. But I'm just putting it out there. I like his game. He looks sharp. I think he's on it right now. They're going to start with a rotation. I guarantee it, because that's what most teams do in this day and age. Unless you have an absolute number 1 guy, they're going to go 1A, 1B for a while. I think Vanacek's a starter by Christmas.
And that, based off what we've seen, I wouldn't put it past it. It's a nice bold one, though. I mean, it is bold because, we don't know what so far Veggie's been unproven, right?
Well, so far Veggie hasn't looked good. Again,
and again, that's why I use the term unproven, and not because here's the thing. And anyone can criticize me for what for saying this, but as much as I liked how Veggie played last year, Karel Vejmelka has yet to string together 2 straight back-to-back solid seasons. And until he does that, he is unproven.
How can you argue with that? Consistency is key. Consistency is the buzzword, keyword, everything word for this Utah team this year. We actually haven't even seen it in the preseason yet. We need consistency. So, Robin, do you have another player one, or do you want to get on to some players and league predictions as well?
Me, I love, like, here's the thing. And it makes things interesting because you were talking about a goalie. Because Tom, you are a goalie. I am a forward, so I love looking at forward stats and everything like that, right? And how and how that works. So that said, we've talked about Lawson Crouse having a bounce back season. I would certainly like to see Lawson Crouse back within, and this is like, I would say this was a plus or minus, but within a, let's say, 70-point range.
Okay. 70 points. Wow. That is a bold prediction, but I like it. I like that. Can you imagine? If he has a 70-point year, how are they not in the playoffs?
Right? No, I think he can do it. I certainly think he can do it. He's done it before. And again, I mean, that was a few years ago. But
70 points from a third line guy would be absolutely bananas. Totally bananas.
But I mean, that's a power forward line, right? Like that power forward line, I feel like will work super well together.
They could become one if they became a true force, and offensively, defensively, momentum-wise, physical play, they could really become the most dominant third line in the league if they all put it together at the same time.
No doubt about it.
That would be wild. And that'll go a long way to winning you hockey games.
And whoever the pair is, if it's Tanev, if it's Carcone, I know, like, I have a feeling McBain's going to be the center there, but whoever's on the other side of the wing.
Yeah, I mean, and there's probably going to be some guys in and out. There's going to be rotations through there. Like we talked about earlier in actually yesterday's show. I mean, Yamamoto's looked hungry. Carcone's looked hungry. Are they third line? Are they fourth line?
Yeah. And again, also you mentioned his name earlier. Where is Agazino going to fit? And maybe that's also part of that rotation.
Yeah. So this is going to be a real interesting Mammoth mix here. All right, Robyn, one more player prediction here. I don't know how I feel about this one, but this one actually somebody tweeted at me. Stimashev for Calder. How do you feel about that?
For Calder.
Yes. I'm in the middle on this one because I really want to see how they're going to deploy him before I go out on a limb for that. Because I don't think you win the Calder as a rookie playing 5-6 minutes. You know what I mean? I don't think you win it from the second power play unit. So that's what I have working against him. But if he somehow figures out top 4 minutes, then gets a lot of PK time, all of a sudden becomes an invaluable killer, and then does get second power play unit time. Okay, maybe I reconsider that stance.
If Simashev overtakes Durzi's minutes, then yeah, like I
just don't see a world where that happens.
No, I don't. And that's the thing. Like, and that's not a bad thing against Simashev. It's just to show where the depth is right now, where the team is right now defensively. And I'll rephrase, where they should be defensively.
Yes.
It's just the way this team has been. It's on defense. We don't know yet.
Consistency, please. That's all we're asking for. So, all right, we've got some team predictions, league predictions, plus we're going to look at some FanDuel odds, and the top 100 for the Locked On NHL Network is out. We're going to tell you which Mammoth made the list and where they ranked as well. And today's show brought to you by Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Well, it's easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in a spot where my organization needed to hire someone yesterday. It's quick, it's scrambly, there's a lot of pressure to get it right, and every day you don't have someone in that hole in your team feels like a setback. And that's exactly where Indeed's sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you, Locked On Mammoth. Thanks for joining us. If you're still here with us and you haven't subscribed yet, please take a moment to do that right now. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. You can find us anywhere you get your audio podcasts. We are on YouTube on the video side. Also, if you're on YouTube, click the bell so you get notifications when we drop a new show each and every time. It is our prediction show. How far can Utah go? Robyn, this is where we get to the team predictions now. Maybe we can sprinkle in some of these looks at what FanDuel thinks about how far Utah can go. Our baseline, though, we need to say this because we've said it before, but if you're new to the show, thank you. The everydayers know this. We have been saying it all summer and beating the drum. Playoffs at a minimum. Playoffs or bust. Has to happen.
It does have to happen. And I feel like that is what makes this that's what brings the pressure up. That's why we are going to be very critical of this team. We're all about the hype, yes, last year, right? We're all about, yes, this team is great, and I think there's a lot of fun. They're going to be a bubble team, but we're all but we're here for the ride. We're still there, but we're up in the pressure, right? We now know where this team needs to be, where they should be, and that is a playoff spot, Tom. I don't expect anything less. And I think that's what's going to put the pressure on Coach Andre Tourigny.
Absolutely. And the everydayers know that last year we tempered expectations. While the national media was blowing it up and riding the hype train and saying these guys are in, we're like, well, let's slow the roll. They could get in, but we called it overachieving if they got in. They just missed. They did not get into the postseason. And Robyn, I think that's a step forward we expected in the growth. And now the next step forward is making the playoffs.
I mean, if you take a look just based off the last few years, and again, I am counting what the team had when they was in Arizona, even though two different franchises, I know, but the players all very because it's all very similar. I count it as points wise and how they did. They have been improving by a pretty good chunk every single year, and if they got just under 90 points this last season, you expect a huge jump again this year. And again, the jumps are going to get smaller because you're not going to go from let's say 90 to 100 and then 26, 27 season, 110 points. I'm not going to say what's going to happen, right? But the expectation is they are going to get better every single year because this team's getting more experienced.
So the question, Robyn, that I think we need to start out with is the point totals, because I really do think it's going to be 95 points again to make the playoffs. Now, some of the models in the simulations we've seen, one that I just looked at this morning that was done by a media outlet out of Canada, said 89 points will get you in the playoffs. I don't think it will, unless the Central beats up on itself so much that it limits everybody's point output. But I think 95 points is what you need to get in the playoffs. That's where my bar is. And that's why I think when FanDuel comes up and says something like this, Utah Mammoth total points for 25-26, over 90.5, under 90.5. Robyn, it's minus 122 to go for the over. It's plus 100 to go for the under 90.5 points.
So the odds makers are counting that they're going to get more of a 90.5 based off those odds, but still, that's lower than I expected.
What were you expecting?
It's still a couple of points of a difference, but I would have set the over at 93.5.
Okay. That's fair, because I think, again, I think 95 points is where they have to be. Now, where do I think they're going to end up? Don't know. Training camp shook me a little bit here, and I am concerned about the consistency and about the defense and about the goaltending. So I'm a little concerned because the points you give away in October really loom large in March and April. So I am a little concerned about that. You need to pick up all these points now. No, I think they'll be better in a shootout, or at least I hope they weren't against the Kings. But Robyn, these are all things you don't think about early in the season that go into that point total. I would like to see them come in over that. I really would, but I am slightly concerned at this point.
I mean, if this team makes 97 points, I'm happy.
I'm saying they're
happy.
95. I'm going to say 95 because that's where I need them to be. It's not necessarily what I believe, but it's what I
Yeah.
need them to be, is 95.
Yeah, and I think I certainly think that's fair. And again, that's the goalpost, right? That's the goalpost. You want to be there, because even then, even if it is a down year, right, where there's like across the board, you can get in on, as you mentioned, Tom, like 89 points, right? I think the benchmark for Utah is still around, I would use your benchmark of 95 points. Based off of their of their improvement year by year, 95 points is the next step. Because they finished with I think it was 89 last year, right?
Right.
They finished with 89 points last year. They just need a 6-point improvement. That's not that hard.
And fans are asking us, guys, where do 6 points come from? It comes from a couple of places. One, not blowing leads late in games. Two, being able to shut down games in overtime and a shootout and pick up that extra point. Now,
and keeping games clean.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Right. And but Robyn, how many times did they blow leads last year, especially late in games? They allowed tying or just losing altogether.
Not even late in games. Sometimes it was second period.
Well, yeah, the second period snooze is definitely a thing. And again, we'll point back to the consistency issue. This is what we're talking about, though. That's 6 points you can pick up. You can easily pick that back up by taking care of business in regulation. And then if you do get to overtime in a shootout, just be better. Take care of your business there, especially in a shootout. They were awful in a shootout.
Yep. And especially, too, if you go just based off win-loss, don't throw out the overtime, right? Like, the better way to put it, like 6 points, someone might say that seems like, that does seem like, but also the other way to put it, Tom, that's 3 games. Right. 3 games.
3 wins that you didn't have last year. And again, the critical thing, especially playing in such a tight division, is do not let St. Louis or Minnesota or Chicago take you to overtime, because you're giving them a point. And it makes it harder then to climb that mountain. So that's it, closing it out in regulation. So the team predictions, Robyn. So are we saying playoffs, right? We're saying they're in the playoffs. They have
playoffs this year.
Okay. So there you go. We've set the bar high. Do you agree with us? Let us know in the comments. Or, of course, you can comment to us on social media, but playoffs are bust.
All right.
Where we're at.
And then one more thing, Tom, as we if they don't make the playoffs, we've already kind of talked about him being on the hot seat, but if they don't make the playoffs, Andre Tourigny, what's his fate?
Well, if he makes it to the end of the year, then that's it. If they don't make the playoffs, for me. But the seat is hot coming right out of camp. If they falter and stumble and are hanging around with the Blackhawks and don't put it together right away out of the gate, this is a tough division to make up ground in. I think you have to go for a switch. I really do. That's just me. But look, and I've been critical of the coach since I got here, pretty much. Just from what I see, what I know, my version of how I think hockey should work, I need to see more.
It's fair enough.
Yeah. Toasty that seat. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we've got some league predictions coming up, and the Locked On Top 100 NHL list came out. Where and which Utah Mammoth players made it? We'll tell you next.
And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you do not want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put $5 down, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I know I love using FanDuel for just about everything when it comes to sports betting. I've done multi-leg parlays, same game parlays, player props, live lines, all of that. Plus, when it just makes my Sunday just look so much better, especially if I play fantasy football and I double down on my fantasy players because I'm just that kind of person. So whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience just so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today to get started.
All right, we are back here on Locked On Mammoth, and Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. Thanks for joining us, everybody. So we've got league predictions for the Mammoth coming up here. But Robyn, the top 100 came out for Locked On. I just have to say that I feel like the disrespect continues for the Utah Mammoth. Part of it is they're a Western team, and I feel like there is an East Coast bias in the media. But again, I mean, we talked about Logan Cooley having maybe the quietest 90-point season in NHL history right here. Is anybody really paying attention to what's on this team and the players that are on this team? We were able to submit a list. Each team could submit a list of up to 6 players, and I put 6 Mammoth on that list that I submitted.
Mm-hmm.
And do I think they necessarily all were gonna make the top 100? No, but they all merited consideration. So, and for those who want to see the full list, we're not going to go through the full list here. You can find it. Yeah, it is a lot. So, but we are going to show you the Mammoth who made the list. So, Robyn, what are your thoughts on it?
All right. Before we even show the graphic, I'll just say this. I feel like there are 2 players, and I feel like it won't be a surprise which 2 players are on this top 100. But those 2 players, Tom, are just severely underrated. I feel like they just it's the disrespect to me. It is it's just the disrespect. Those 2 players, as you mentioned, for example, one being Logan Cooley. Yeah, you said he had one of the quietest 90-point seasons, or Clayton Keller rather. It's just either one of those.
Is anyone watching this team ever? Come on.
And at first, when we did stuff like this, when we talked about top 100s and looked at players and player props and player odds and all things like that, I was mad because I was like, okay, is anyone paying attention? Because it was Arizona, right? But I was like, and everyone's like, it's Arizona. No one pays attention to Arizona, and for whatever reason, and they're still getting the same disrespect. And I'm like, but this is a different team. There's a lot more attention coming their way. Why are you not paying attention?
I know. I think people like to talk about the team. They like to talk about the concept of Smith Group. They like to talk about the idea of Utah, but they don't actually pay attention to the roster, which is sad because it's packed with talent.
It is packed with talent.
All right. Well, we might as well show people where the 2 Mammoth players to make it ended up. And let's go. We'll start working backward from number 100. And here we go. Logan Cooley, 5 spots worse than his uniform number, comes in at number 97.
Just 97, just barely making it.
Just beats out Brock Faber, Erik Karlsson, and Tomas Hertl. Logan Cooley only marginally better than those guys, and not as good.
Below Matt Duchene, Noah Dobson, and Jared McCann.
Right. Jared McCann, 94. I don't there is a scenario where you can put a comparison between Logan Cooley, William Eklund, and Noah Dobson in a comparable, but I think all 3 of those players are actually technically higher. And I like Cole Caulfield, goal scorer, 30 plus goal scorer. I don't understand. I know that, look, you've got to put everybody somewhere, but I feel like that's just a massive diss on Logan Cooley.
It is. It very much is, especially because, we've talked about where his contract's going to end up, right? There's no way that a potential almost $12 million player is just barely in the top 100.
Yeah. Yep. And it doesn't get any better as we go into the 50s. Clayton Keller ranks number 55. A 90-point guy is 55.
Clayton Keller should be the top 30.
Yep. And if you're wondering, those around Keller in this neighborhood of the 50, 51 is Jacob Slavin, then Matt Boldy, Jake Sanderson, Jason Robertson, who I also like and think should have been higher. 56 is Devon Taves, Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, who is mercurial at best. JT Miller also, actually, he's in New York now. Nick Suzuki and Philip Forsberg. So that is your group in that 51 to 60 range. Keller's 55. I don't know, Robin. I guess we go ahead.
Am I shooting too much to say Clayton Keller should be in the top 30?
I don't necessarily think so. I think Clayton Keller, again, 90 points. Like, how do you ignore that? That's got to put you in the top 30. And again, it's just people aren't paying attention. They're not looking at the West. They're not really watching the Mammoth. Maybe they will this year, but they have to make them sit up and take notice. So,
and I think there was someone that once said, make a playoffs first, and then we'll start looking at you, man. But like, this is, I mean, I don't know. Like,
well, that's like saying Connor McDavid win a Stanley Cup and then we'll put you in the Hall of Fame. Like the second he hangs him up for the last time, he's in.
It's gatekeeping, right? I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, and the thing is, like, we're like, it's crazy how we're in that generation where we see all that kind of gatekeeping. Where you take a look at, there are a lot of greats out there, a lot of NHL greats who are easily in the top 100 all time that never won the Stanley Cup, that we're not on good teams, but they got recognized because they were so good on their own merit.
Right. And if you want the full list, by the way, check out the Locked On NHL channel. They will have that over there for you. We're not going to give you the full list, but those are the two Mammoth that made it. Let us know your thoughts. Should they have been ranked higher? Where would you have put them in your top 100 in the NHL? All right, Robin, league predictions. Let's take a look at it. Where do you think the Mammoth finish? And then if we're saying playoffs are bust now, do they win a playoff round? How far do they go? What are we thinking here? And then we can pick our Stanley Cup.
All right. So you and I have already agreed. Utah Mammoth in the playoffs. I honestly think they're good enough for a wild card 1 spot. Not wild card 2, but wild card 1 spot. I think they're gonna make that level of improvement. I have that level of confidence in me. Despite what we saw during the preseason. Right. But that said, this team will not get past the first round. I feel like they'll make it interesting, maybe a 6-game series, but they will not get past the first round. They'll they'll get their dance. They'll get their little taste of the dance, but that's as far as they'll go for this year.
Here's what I'm gonna do. This is fun.
Okay.
I get to once again stand up for my Winnipeg Jets. Jets are going to win the division. I don't know if they win the President's Trophy this year, but they win the division. Mammoth or wild card 2. Mammoth beat the Jets in the first round.
I mean, the Jets aren't they're a great regular season team. They just can't win in the playoffs. So
yeah. I think they beat the Jets in round 2. So
who do they end up? Who do the Mammoth end up losing to? Vegas?
Round 2. Well, no, you're still in the division of round 2. They're not getting out of round 2. I don't think they're probably going to end up losing to, if you reseed, it would be Dallas. I think Dallas will move on at that point. I really like Dallas. I like Colorado. I just think Winnipeg, for whatever reason,
isn't it conference? Is it divisional reseeding or is it conference? At that point, after the first round.
No, it's still divisional. You got to play your way out of the division still. But unless the wild card team can become a swing team.
Yeah, well, because wild card is based off of a wild card team plays no matter what, plays the highest seeded team.
Now you've got me questioning this. Either way, well, I guess it would be the reseed of whoever's left.
Yes.
So then it would be conference. I still think it'll be Dallas.
Okay.
I just think they're going to win the first round. If they face the Jets, I think they beat the Jets. Sorry.
Man, if they face
regular season love you, I don't playoff love.
If they face the Jets, yes. Based on my prediction, I feel like they'd end up facing they could either be against Vegas because wild card 1 or against Vegas or whatever, or against Dallas. But they can.
I feel like Vegas is not going to be as good this year. I know like the Mitch Marner effect and all of that. And yes, the Pacific is much weaker. But boy, Petrangelo's a bigger hole than anybody is willing to talk about. That is huge. Him missing back there. That is huge. And they still got to deal with Edmonton. Robyn. So let's okay. So we figured out the Mammoth portion of this Stanley Cup now. This is, I mean, so you have the Corey Perry effect, which means LA loses in the final. or you go with Vegas with Mitch Marner, or you go with Edmonton to get back to the Cup from the West, or you blindside us and pick someone that we're not talking about, a Dallas, a St. Louis, whoever. What do you think? And then who's coming out of the East?
See, at this point, Tom, I have been picking Dallas for every year for the last 3 years. And I'm not going to change it. I feel like they have what it takes. Like last year, I feel like they could have done it had it not been for boneheaded Peter DeBoer. They could have done it.
Tell us how you really feel.
I think with the change in coach, and I feel like they still have Mikko Rantanen, right? Mikko Rantanen is just insane forward. I feel like that team should be able to do it.
So I'm going to disappoint everyone because I already told you Winnipeg loses in the playoffs in the first round, I think, this year. But Robyn, I'm predicting a Stanley Cup rematch and the exact same outcome. Edmonton losing to Florida.
I don't want to see a three-peat, please.
I don't see anyone who's as good as the Panthers in the East. I just don't. And Edmonton, I mean, the hockey gods love them just enough to help them find ways. And even with average to subpar goaltending, that team still makes the Stanley Cup final. Even with really average to subpar defense. That's how good they are. So it's hard for me to bet against that. Is it going to be tough for them? Yes. Am I casting aside a rebound from the Rangers? Do I think the Leafs or the Senators might have something? I just don't. I don't think any of them, Carolina, nobody matches up to Florida for me. They just don't.
I mean, in the East, certainly, but I feel like the West is going to have will certainly have some talent to put up.
I just don't think I don't have as much faith in Vegas as most people do. They're going to be a good team. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be really good. I just don't have as much faith in them. Yeah.
But between Vegas, Edmonton, and Dallas, I mean, those are like your reliable playoff teams.
And, we're not talking about Vancouver or Calgary. Dustin Wolf carried Calgary a long, long way last season, but I don't think they got remarkably better around him. No one knows if Thatcher Demko is going to play more than 2 seconds of action in the NHL regular season in Vancouver. So we have a giant question mark there. Who are the Kings? We ask this question every single year. I still don't know who the Kings are, but they're a playoff team. The Ducks could surprise people, but I just don't see any of them beating Edmonton. I don't.
Yeah, no, Edmonton, I think, certainly wins the Pacific. That I have no doubt.
They're going to the Cup final. I'm telling you. I mean, you can ride your Dallas train, but I'm not on it.
I'll do it. I'm sticking. Like I'm said. I'm a fool for habit. I keep with I keep going until
I understand that. It took a lot for me to step away a little bit from Winnipeg in the playoffs because I had been picking them to go to the Cup the last couple of years. And I think I've finally learned my lesson that they just aren't built to win in the playoffs. They're built to win in the regular season. So the Blues are more built to win in the playoffs than the Winnipeg Jets. So, all right. Well, let us know what you think in the comments. How far off base are we? Why do you think I'm crazy? Why is Robyn right? just let us know. And certainly you can always reach out to us here on the YouTube side in those comments. But Robyn, if they want to get us on social media, where can they find us?
Yeah, they can find us everywhere on social media. We're primarily active over on Twitter/X at Locked On Mammoth. You can find me personally at Robyn_Leaño.
I'm over there on Blue Sky at Tom Talks, Twitter at Callahan on Air. And let us know your predictions. We are almost there. We're dropping the puck Thursday night in Colorado against the Avalanche. And we will have our 3 burning questions on tomorrow's show right as we're getting ready to go. What's going to make the difference for the Mammoth? Well, we'll find out. Thanks for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.